Defensive line concern. Defensive line coach Rodney Garner didn't mince any words when he talked about his defensive line and the concern of that group as we enter in the second week of fall camp. A lot to discuss today coming up on the show. All right, what's going on, everybody, man? Welcome back to the show. So today we're discussing the Tennessee Volunteers, man, and we're talking about the concern at defensive line. All right, but before we do that, like, comment, subscribe, hype up this video, man. And I'm looking for you, my guy Smokey. He was helping me out. He was tuned into the channel, man. So yeah, we back with more videos. And today they actually got ranked number 14 in the SP Plus ranking, so that's good for Tennessee. But there is concern with defensive line. Now, a few weeks back, probably a couple of months back, we talked about the defensive line, right? While everyone's talking about the quarterback, Faison Brandon and G-Mac, I don't feel like that's really the concern, right? When we look at the resume, we look at the pedigree, the repertoire that Coach Heupel has been able to do at quarterback, that's not really a concern, right? The biggest concern to me is defensive line, right? And this feels like a group that's going to have to perform at a very high level, right? And for Tennessee, they struggled with creating pressure even last year with Joshua Josephs, right? So this group has to step up. But his words to me is concerning. Now, most Tennessee fans would be like, Nas, well, this is what Coach Garner does. He says this every single year, right? But I think the concern is the talent level there, right? So we're going to break this down in a few pieces, but this is what he said about the group. Just coming out of yesterday, just been very inconsistent. Garner told media members on Wednesday, you have a good day, you have a bad day. Obviously, you're not moving the needle when you're going up and down. Garner later stated that he does like this unit, but he wants to see more out of them as the 2026 season approaches. Can't have those roller coaster moments. And like I told them this morning in the meeting, we got to be climbing that mountain every day. We can't take steps backwards, right? So for them, and basically he's saying, okay, you got good and bad days, but y'all not giving me a consistent rhythm every single day, right? You're not being consistently and disruptive enough going up against the offensive line. Now, I will say this. When you look at some of these guys on the offensive line, the Oy Williams, the Jesse Perrys, the David Sanders, right? And some of these guys, I think it is preparing them for what they're going to see in the SEC this year and some of these opponents that they're going to face this year for sure, right? But they got to be more effective, right? They got to be able to make more plays. And the concern is who is the guy, right? Or if it's not the guy, if it's a collection of guys, who's going to step up, right? Because no Chaz Coleman anymore. You've seen that situation went awry. Like, now you're going to need somebody else to step up, right? You do have Tyree Weathersby, you know what I'm saying, who's going to be returning back, David Hobbs as well. But these guys got to take major steps forward, you know what I'm saying, for Tennessee to take that step forward. If not, this could be a long season for Tennessee because while, yes, you do got a new defensive coordinator in Jim Knowles, right, and you do got some good linebackers, and linebackers is probably one of your stronger positions along with the secondary for Tennessee, you're going to need them to get there and get pressure, right? It makes no difference if Ty Redmond, if K and Lee, if these guys are covering, you know what I'm saying, 7-8 seconds well, but then, you know, this quarterback is drawing, is being able to break loose and buy time, and it goes to 12, 13 seconds. Eventually, they're going to give up a play, right? So these guys have to step up, right? Now, the name I think that's going to be big for Tennessee is going to be Jordan Norman, right? I think Jordan Norman is going to be the one from Tulane, had a big time spring. I think he's the guy that's going to be having a big season this year for Tennessee, and I think he's going to be the one that makes the major difference for the Volunteers, right? And outside of him, it's like who else? So the other piece of this is it has to be a freshman to me that's going to have to step up for this team, right? And when I look at some of the freshmen, I'm talking about J.J. Finch, who also had a pretty productive spring as well for the Tennessee Vols, but he's a true freshman, right? He flipped instead of going to Alabama, he went to Tennessee. Right, I'm looking at Darian Albert, who's another big guy they got from Mississippi. Right, I'm expecting him to have a big season. Kendrick Golston's another one. Right, got to come in, perform, and have a big time season. And then Darrell Rivers, formerly of McEachern. Right, some of these young pups are going to have to be able to step up for this team in this unit. Right, and like I said, the biggest cause for pause is defensive line. I think that's probably the biggest weakness on this team this year, and I think that's the reason why they went and they got a Chaz Coleman, why they went and got some of these guys from the portal. But I think Jordan Norman is going to be a guy, and I think he can easily have between seven plus sacks this season. But they're going to have to be able to create pressure, and also they have to stop the run. A lot of these games they got gashed. You know what I'm saying? Those big games against Vanderbilt got gashed last season when dealing with Diego Papi and on the ground, right? And it's like, it's not that they lack a talent, but it's like, who's the top tier talent, right? There's still questions and concerns there. So I think for me, you're going to need more consistency. And to his point, I see why, right? And that's the part that if I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm like, okay, well, can this unit come together in time, right? Because we're about to hit mid-August now, right? It's getting real. And I need some guys to start kind of separating from the pack a little bit, right? Like offensive line, you kind of can see who's separating from the pack, right? QB competition still in full effect, but you see who's starting to stand out. Like there's nobody that has been catching the eye. And usually in these pressers, you see guys like Garner or see these coaches will say, hey, this guy's been catching my eye. This guy's been standing out. This guy's been doing his thing. He's been consistent every single day. He's been putting in the work. He's been grinding. He's been working. He's been putting in the effort. But I think for Tennessee, that's the biggest concern is D-line. And they're going to need one of these freshmen or one of these young returning players at sophomore to step up this year, in addition to some of the transfers they got, as we mentioned, Xavier Gilliam, right? That might be a big one for them as well that can help out this defensive line, right? Obviously, they got good depth, but it's like, you need that pass rush. You look at Miami, they got Damon Wilson. Before that, Ruben Jr. and Keem Messenger, right? You look at Texas, they got Colin Simmons, right? Georgia's going to have obviously Elijah Griffin. Like you need a guy that can go one, win that game for you, or two, just cause havoc and disrupt the game. So I will say this is a little pause for me. And while I have been getting more into it and following this program more and more, I do think that is a big concern. And we talked to Travis Smith Jr.'s dad, right? And he laid it out too. He was like, yeah, while the concern is defensive line, not defensive line, quarterback. Quarterback's always been fine. My concern is defensive line, especially after what they lost, especially the struggles last year. So I'm taking Coach Gardner's words seriously, and this is something that we're going to have to continue to follow to see, right? Against Furman, right? That's not the big test. But when you go against Georgia Tech, with what they're going to try to do is run that football and throw the ball with Alberto Mendoza. You're going to have to be able to create pressure, and you're going to have to be able to make plays. So it is a little bit concerning for Tennessee, to see that and see if they're going to be able to come out on top. Right, I feel like offense they'll be fine, but this defensive line is going to have to get it together because I feel like you have an all-world secondary. I feel like you have all-world linebackers with Aaron Carter in the mix, especially for the Buckets Award. But you need this defensive line to take a step forward. If not, it could be a very, very long season for the Vols, and it could be a long year for Jim Knowles. Even though he's a new head coach, new defensive coordinator coming up from Penn State, it could be a long year if you don't get this issue addressed. Right, so I do think there is a defensive line concern, and somebody's going to have to step up. We've seen, like I said, we've seen flashes. We've seen what Jordan Norman was doing. We've seen what some of those boys was doing in the spring, but it needs to be more consistency. So I agree with the defensive line coach. Hopefully we'll see it. We're going to find out here pretty soon what's real and what's not. But that's all I got for today's video, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hype up the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. And remember, as always, peace and love.